Well, hello again. My name's Penny. This is a chinwag. Thank you for joining me very much. I live here in the southeastern. I'm looking out the window. I must stop that. I must look at you. I think I'll swizzle this round a bit and then I can. Otherwise I'm getting distracted. I don't know why. Yes, I want to do it. Anyway, that might be an outtake. So my name's Penny. Welcome. Thank you very much for joining me. It's Chinwag, a fascinating fact, a chat with Mum. We're doing 1949 this year, which is the year I was born, and a little film. We haven't been out this week. Pete was a little bit under the weather. Absolutely fine, but just felt a bit under the weather. So all we did was our little local walk, walking past the sea. And although autumn has arrived, it's been lovely and sparkly. So I just took the sea. Oh, and little Tommy, he goes with his nan. Well, that's my daughter. That's our daughter. He goes with his nan to this little play. Is it not a play group? It's a play. You know what I mean. Anyway, and there's things that you can climb on and things you can push and the play balls and all of that. And he watches all the others and he's just joined in. So amazing. Well, Lois, my granddaughter, is saying, "Oh, clever boy." She's amazed that he's walking around. He's 8.5 months. He's walking around pushing this thing, and then he's climbing up this tall. Well, you'll see. So that's part of it. It's just a little film of the sparkling sea and little Tommy. So my great grandson. So it's just a chat. This first bit. Welcome you all on board. Episode 59. Can you believe it? I can't. It just seems incredible. I'm going to do from the hamper this week. I've got a hamper. Oh, there's Pete. He's just popped round Mum's. Her kettle broke and she's got one of these special ones because not being able to see and all of that. And we ordered it yesterday lunchtime and it came a little while ago. So he's just popped it round there so, you know, she can be safe. He'll probably come wandering in now and say, "What do I want for eats?" That's what he does. Will this and that be all right? And will this and that be all right? So if he appears, you know why. Anyway, so I've got a hamper, and you know when I just shove things in. I don't know. I can't remember what's in there. So I thought, what can I talk about today? So I just put my hand in the hamper, took out a few bits. I can't remember if I've shown you before. Not very organised, is it? But anyway, I thought I'd share them with you. Yes, I live in the southeast of England with my husband, Pete, and my girls, my chickens, the 3 of them. And they're really fine. They're 3 of a kind, and I'm letting them out and just getting to know them a bit better because I was always very fond of Daisy Doo and Light Sussex, but they've been put to sleep now, and so I'm just with these 3 and we're getting to know each other really well. So it's lovely. So where shall I start? Well, shall I start with the quilt? I have taken you along. Last week I showed you what I decided to do. If any of you are new here and would like to catch up. So I'm making 16 blocks of 2.5-inch squares, 6.5 by 2.5, sewn with the ends, and I sew them round by hand. I meant to say last week, if you're sewing that seam together, don't start there and work along. I was always taught start in the middle because you're not going to drag it at all. Start in the middle and go there, and then come back and join and go to there. So that's the way I do it. And then because we don't sew down the flaps because we don't sew the flaps down like on a machine, that would all be sewn down. That means you can direct which way you press it. And yeah, it's nice. I like it. But I like just sitting there of the evening, just doing a little bit and taking my time. People call it slow stitching now, don't they? I don't know about that. It's all these new things, but for me, it's just a bit of enjoyable hand sewing. So this is the top there, like that. So now we need the next line that's going to come down, because as I said last week, it's done on point. And so I've got the next line done. I haven't sewn those two together yet, but here it is. So that's the next line. That will be like that. So we've got the bunny, Peter Rabbit. Yes, that's Peter Rabbit. And then we've got one of those and one of those sewn to it, and one of those that makes the edge. I gave you the measurements for that last week. So there's my row 2. Like that. I think it's very pretty. It's my cup of tea. So there we are. I'll show you row 3 when I've finished it. But I'm not putting myself under pressure. I've got plenty of time. But that's what I'm enjoying doing at the minute. So what have I taken out of the hamper? Well, I don't know if what I've shown you now. I'm on episode 59 and I'm not one to make notes and double check and see. I'm very off the cuff. I'm that kind of person. But my friend and I, who came to stay last week actually, we did a calligraphy day in 1982, the 22nd of February at Capel Manor. And that was a local place to us because I used to live at Enfield. And we used to do all manner of days. So this was a calligraphy day. I did a spinning day and, of course, never looked back, spun all my own, wool and all of that. But this above all, to thine own self be true, and it must follow as the night the day, thou canst not then be false to any man. Now, I looked that up, Shakespeare. I think it's Hamlet. With my memory, do you find your memory? You know, you can look something up and 20 minutes later, you don't know what planet you're on. But anyway, I looked it up and I've forgotten the man's name now. It begins with P. He said this to his son going off to France. And I think it said that what he was saying is, earn your own living, look after yourself, because then you won't need to rely on others. And so he also said to his son, neither a lender or a borrower be. But it did say, looking it up, that the modern way of looking at this is look after yourself, and then we do say that in the counselling world. I was a counsellor for I don't know how long, 20 odd years and that. But we always used to say the more you take care of yourself, the more you can take care of others. It's a bit like that in the plane, isn't it? When, they say, oh, take the oxygen if ever you need it, then you can take it and then you can help others. If you don't take it, you're not in a position to help others. We always say, take care of yourself. Take care of yourself well. And then the more you take care of yourself, the more you can take care of others, which makes total sense. But I think what this guy was saying is, if you can earn your own living and look after yourself in a monetary wise, then you won't ever need to rely on others, and that's a good thing. So we can interpret it whatever way we want. But I enjoyed doing the calligraphy day. I never kept it up. I can't do it now. But Pete being left-handed, we just got down to there, more or less did the full stop, and then he he went like that with his pen. And my poor friend, who did the lovely cross-stitch of our wedding, do you remember? She came last week and her whole work was blotted with ink. So, yes, he blotted his copybook, but fortunately she still loves him, because last week he did cook her lovely meals every day. So he made up for it, I think. But that was really funny. We landed the day in full of laughter with him blotting her work all over. But fortunately mine was all right. So that was that, taken out of the hamper. Another thing I found was a holiday receipt. Whoops, everything gone on the ground. Holiday receipt. Photo Travel, World Travel Service. 1978. It was our first holiday abroad with the children. And we went to Montandre, which is near Cognac. In fact, we visited Cognac and it was beautiful, near Bordeaux, down there. I thought it was going to be boiling hot, so I was a bit disappointed, because when I was younger, about when I was 15, we did go to the south of France and I loved it. I couldn't believe it. I got in the car and went to sleep. We travelled overnight, and when I woke up in the morning, I was in the south of France. And it was boiling hot, and I laughed. Oh, I'll never forget it. You don't forget your first trip abroad, do you? But anyway, this trip, because it wasn't boiling hot, it disappointed me. But nevertheless, we enjoyed ourselves. We met some lovely locals who invited us round to their homes, and they fed us. We went to one French farmhouse. There's a family with their chickens in the kitchen, sitting on their shoulders. It was gorgeous. We went to a beautiful restaurant. Come. We had about a 5-course meal with the children. No charge. It was gorgeous. We had a beautiful holiday in France. But what? I'll tell you how much it cost for 2 weeks. We had a Montandre Holiday Village bungalow that was for 4 people. I suppose now it's like Centre Parks, you know, something like that. And it for 2 weeks, and 2 adults, it was £80, £40 each. For the 2 children, £66, £33 each. And for the extra week, £12 for the adults. And because it was high season, it was June, we had to pay an extra £28. So the whole thing came to £222. 1978. Well, you can't have a fortnight's holiday in France for £222 for 2 adults and 2 children now. That just shows you how things have changed. And in my little bit with Mum, I say in August of 1949, there was just over the $4 to the pound. And then it was devalued in September to $2 to the pound. And I think this week it's $1 to the pound. And people are putting up the prices of wool and things, I see, if it's being, imported from America, because of the price of the dollar, because of how things are. So there we are. That's our holiday receipt. Winchmore Hill, where we used to live. Photo travel. So that was just something I picked up. How things have changed. Oh, this isn't how things have changed. I went to the Antiques Roadshow, and yes, I took a couple of things along. I'll show you what I took along. Just wait there. I've got it. It's so heavy I can hardly hold it. It's 2 beautiful dogs. Oh, sorry. Can you see the dust? It's quite hard to clean. I've got to get a toothbrush on that. Rather beautiful. And it's Fremier. And apparently that's a very good maker for this sort of thing. So I took that along, and I thoroughly enjoyed standing in the queue. You know, we're not talking lots and lots of money, but that wasn't the point. It was lovely meeting everybody of the Antiques Roadshow. And of course, what reminded me was the little ticket that I go flop and pop it in my hamper. Oh, he's got a little bell round his neck, look. Very proud, dear. So, if I can, I'll put that down. Let's put that there. And then, yes, I found this. It's Aldermaston. People used to go on marches. This ties in really with my chat with Mum, because really the nations after the Second World War, they're starting to, go nuclear. And of course there were lots of marches. And so they used to march from Aldermaston to London, and then London back to Aldermaston. And I wondered where I got that from. This was their symbol. I wondered where I got it from. So I messaged my aunt in Ireland, as you know, Anne, and I said, "Did you go on the march?" She said, "Yes, I did. I went on several," she said. So I must have kept that and just always hung on to it. So this must be yours, Anne. I loved this. They used to sing songs on the march, and I loved when I was reading this. I loved this song. It's called The Strangest Dream, and the words and music are by Ed McCurdy, and he was a folk singer of the time, and he wrote it in 1950, and so it was used for the marches. Lots of people have recorded it. John Denver, I've forgotten his name now, he always wears black, Ring of Fire. Oh, it'll come to me anyway. You know, a lot of people, Simon and Garfunkel, they've recorded it. But I loved the words. I thought I'd read them. "Last night I had the strangest dream I'd never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I saw a mighty room. The room was full of men, and the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. And when the paper was all signed and 1,000,000 copies made, they all joined hands and bowed their heads, and grateful prayers were prayed. And the people in the streets below were dancing round and round, and guns and swords and uniforms were scattered on the ground." I just thought they were the loveliest of words. So, no to nuclear death. And so, why is that in my hamper? It's because it belonged to Anne, and Anne is very special to me. And the last thing, I've got a few things here. Have I got time? Sorry, they dropped on the floor. Now, this shows you how times have gone by. This is a little card that was attached to an engagement present. We got engaged in we got married in 68. I think we got engaged at 68. No, we got engaged August 67, and we got married October 68. So 67, I had an engagement present from one of Pete's relations. And on your engagement, with all best wishes, Les, and I've written what he gave us. And for us, times have very much changed, because what he gave us was an ashtray. And of course, I don't smoke, and Pete hasn't smoked for 50 odd years. So amazing, isn't it? For me, that was he gave us an ashtray for our engagement present. Yeah, I don't think people would do that nowadays. Anyway, that's rather pretty. You sure you want to know all this? Yes, say my friends, yes please. This is a little drawing, and this gave me an insight into why Pete loves trees so much. He's always loved trees. He loved climbing them when he was a boy. He used to sit up high in the tree, and he loved it, always. In fact, he wrote a story, didn't he, about the tree, the oak tree. In previous episode, I read it. But this was a drawing that Pete's dad did, just a little sketch, because where they lived in Devon, opposite their little lane, they had a country cottage, was this beautiful tree, and Pop was always going on about it. Here's this picture that he drew. And one day he said to us, you know what they're going to do? We said, what? He said they're going to chop the tree down. He just couldn't believe it. In fact, he made a few things from that tree as keepsakes. He just loved it so much. Of course, they cut the tree down and put a housing estate on it. That's when he moved down and joined us down here. It's quite precious, really, because Pop died in 2001 or 2000, something like that. He was born in 1907, Pete's dad. You think back how times have changed since then. And the last thing I want to show you is every year, when the girls were old enough, we've got two girls, Kim and Nicola, both nannies now, and when they were old enough, for our anniversary, they used to cook us a meal. We'd have to sit down, get dressed up. It was all set out beautifully. They'd spend all day on it. And this is year 17. I got married in 68. So 78, 88, take 3 off. Is it 85? I think it's 1985. Forgive me if I'm wrong. I can't do maths very well. And not in my head anyway. Anyway, this is Pete's one. Dad is written in the corner. And it's the menu. And so for starter, we had exquisite honeydew melon. For the main course, we had Welsh rarebit, spare ribs marinated in exotic barbecue sauce, vegetables, which were carrots, roast potatoes and rice. And for sweet, we had cream cakes and a surprise pudding. I hope you enjoy your meals. And it went on for quite a few years until for quite a few years, they used to do us our anniversary dinner. So that's one of the menus. Each one of those things is quite precious to me, but really, to anybody else, they'd put it in the dustbin, wouldn't they? But that's what things mean to each individual. I'm sure you've got the same. So shall we do the fascinating fact now? I'll see you the other side. Among the many mechanisms that make human life possible, it's the body's ability to heal wounds and regenerate damaged tissue. The process begins as soon as an injury occurs. It's made possible by a cascade of complex cellular functions. Platelets adhere to tissues around a wound, forming a blood clot and sealing damaged blood vessels. Inflammation protects against infection and removes any debris caused by the injury. Within days, the body begins to replace injured tissue, makes the wound contract, and repair damaged blood vessels. Finally, scar tissue remodels and strengthens the damaged area. Inspired by blood clotting, researchers are developing plastics that can heal damage to themselves. Such regenerating materials are equipped with tiny parallel tubes containing 2 chemicals that bleed when any damage occurs. As the 2 chemicals mix, they form a gel that spreads across the damaged areas, closing cracks and holes. As the gel solidifies, it forms a tough substance that restores the material's original strength. One researcher admits that this synthetic healing process currently under development is reminiscent of what already exists in nature. Yes, interesting, isn't it? Because I cut myself this week, so I looked that up and I saw that for instance, supposing they're in space and there's a hole appears in one of their suits or the windscreen or anything like that, they've now developed so that it takes a second. Well, as soon as the oxygen gets to these substances that they put inside, whoomph, it's sealed, and it's actually stronger than what they made in the beginning. And they said it would be very good for screens on mobile phones, on tyres. They can do it so that it can actually hold more weight than the original tyre. And they did this back in 2012. It was very successful. But I don't see too much of it. Do you? I don't see that when I buy a phone that's all part of the screen. So there must be a reason they don't use it for that. But that was what they thought would be very helpful. So they copied the body's way of healing itself. So it's Mum's part now. 1949. It's the year I was born. And doing this, I really can see how, yes, it was 2 pints of milk per person. It was still rationing. In 1949, Mum was still in very, very cramped, dire conditions, really, I would say. It was only because of the NHS and everything that it all came in. They had to put a sink in the little 2 rooms that they lived in. Before that, she didn't have a sink. It was just on the landing, and one that Dad had made himself with a bucket underneath. And you just think, imagine living like that. But Mum took it all in her stride, because although, I'd never have thought about it in so much depth as I am now going through it with Mum. 1949, yes, the war was over, and I was, the baby boom, that's what we were called, our generation, the baby boomers, because there were so many of us. But when I'm doing these facts, I can really see that for Mum, yes, it wasn't World War, but the world was at war, peaceful in Britain. But boy, still clothing was rationed, food was rationed. Things were hard. She's always made light of it. It's brilliant. So I'm learning a lot through doing this. So I hope you enjoy it too. I'll see the other side. Righty-ho, that's us on, Mum.
Oh.
Yes.
Morning.
Morning. It's a beautiful morning here, isn't it? Lovely and sunny.
Lovely, yes.
But a little bit chilly when we woke up this morning, wasn't it?
Yes.
Autumn's coming. So, we're going to do 1949. And I know we've done it before, but it's been more about your history. This is your history joining in with... With
what was happening in the world, really.
Yes, what was happening.
Yes.
But before we look into that, I wanted to just say that I was thinking about it and how you weren't giving the opportunities at school for training because your schooling ended because the war started.
Yes.
And then you got married in the war and you didn't know really what was going to happen from one day to the next.
No.
And then the war finished and Dad went away. And then we left it that you had your first holiday. And how exciting that must have been in 1948.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was, and it was a small holiday camp, and it was run so beautifully.
Yeah, a super time. And then, of course, later that year, you got pregnant. And here we are now then in January 1949.
Yes.
You're just pregnant. And but you're still living in 2 rooms at the top of a house with a sink on the landing, aren't you, Mum?
Yes.
You know.
Because Well, we still hadn't really. We'd had a bit of increase in wages, of course, but not that much.
No,
and
no.
A bigger flat was much more rent.
Yeah. And how old were you in 1949 then, Mum?
I was 23.
You were 23.
Yes.
So 23 here,
Yes.
the war ended, but rationing's still in place.
Yes.
And of course, a lot of unrest in the rest of the world,
Yes.
wasn't there?
Yes, everything hadn't really finished.
No.
There was lots of, and of course, I know it's 2 years after 1951, but then the Korean War started. So that was all happening in other parts of the world.
Yes, yes. So it wasn't a time of peace, even though you were peace. It was peace in Britain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So here you are now, expecting me. Now, what is happening, Mum, is clothes rationing has stopped.
No.
1949, you've got no more rationing for clothes.
No.
And so you went off and got a...
Well, when I used to go to my antenatal, because I was at this marvellous hospital, University College, near the West End, London. That was near the big stores then. Yeah. And I just saw this beautiful costume, as we called them, jacket and skirt, but it was blue and white, a lovely collar, and it was and it was adjustable, so as you got bigger, you could adjust that with the skirt and the top, and it was, I'd never seen or heard of anything like it before, so I don't know how much money I had in my bag, but I think it cost
you were determined to have it.
Yes.
So here we've got clothes rationing ending and you splashing out on a maternity dress, because of course in those days it was modest to cover it all up, wasn't it? Not like now, where women wear what they want, really. Britain is to have its first national parks, it was announced today, 77 years after Yellowstone in the United States became the world's first, and nearly 150 years after Wordsworth urged that the lake should be a national property in which every man has a right and interest, who has an eye to perceive and a heart to enjoy. So the Lake District is one of the 12 areas in England and Wales proposed as potential national parks to conserve natural beauty. None are proposed for Scotland.
Oh,
well, we know that did sort of happen, but not then.
No.
And you know what? I think we spoke about the High Court judges coming out on strike.
Yes.
Do you remember?
Yes.
But they get their first pay rise in May of 1949, and it's the first pay rise since 1872. Ooh. So they had to wait a jolly long time for that. They really did.
Yes. 60 odd years.
Yeah, oh, was it? So your brain can do that, Mum, I can't. It's all about war. Yes. Every page, it's all about what's going on. So Meryl Streep was born, Mum, in June, so she's the same age as me.
Yes.
And it says more rationing as UK crisis deepens. It says more belt-tightening measures for coping with Britain's alarming dollar shortage were announced today. The sugar ration is down to 8 ounces a week. Sweet rationing is back at 4 ounces a head, and there's another cut in tobacco supplies. So, yes, here we go.
Yes.
There's no suggestion that sterling should be devalued. And that, I hope, is that, he said. So that's the Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Yes.
So things are still very crippling.
Still very tight.
Yeah, very tight, Mum. The dockers are out on strike only for a couple of weeks, but yes, the dockers are still going there. And
there was lots of food then coming in from different parts of the world, so the dockers were really working jolly hard.
Yeah, but then in September, Mum, the pound's devalued by 30%. Britain has devalued the pound sterling from $4.03 to $2.80, a stunning 30.5% reduction. Yes. It was a dramatic decision, it says. He went start upon another stage in the magnificent struggle of our people to overcome the crushing difficulties imposed upon them by their sacrifices in the World War.
Yes.
So things are all changing there. They vowed it It's funny when you read it like that. They vowed in the August that it wasn't going to happen.
No.
But then in the September, of course, it did. So what was going on when I was born? On the 12th, Mum, starlings on the minute hand make Big Ben lose 4.5 minutes. So we always do the time by Big Ben, don't we? But there must have been a devastating amount of starlings landing on.
It wasn't right that day. It wasn't correct. No.
It was the slowest for 90 years. Oh, dear.
All due to the starlings.
Yes. It says that Mr. and Mrs. Average, Mum, in Britain, Britain's spending more on alcoholic drinks but less likely to get drunk. Less money on food but more likely to eat out. But that wasn't happening for you, was it?
No, but we still, for a special occasion, we would go to Lyons Corner House.
You could go there.
There was 1 or 2 places similar to that had opened after the war.
Good.
Where you could get a reasonable meal.
You've got milk rationing, Mum. 2 pints a week.
Milk was rationed.
That was in the September of 1949, Mum.
That was all to do with after the war and farming, and which hadn't really got back
to how it should be.
It was.
And then we've got, I know I've seen it somewhere, but I can't find it, but that the US had their first colour TV.
Colour TV, yes.
Well, that was years.
Yes.
I think
1967 when we had our first colour TV.
But here they are in 1949 with first colour television.
Nearly 20 years before, goodness.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. And then the hits of 1949 were Buttons and Bows, Riders in the Sky, and Baby It's Cold Outside.
Yes.
I still remember that.
Yes.
And of course,
I thought you read somewhere before about the lights coming on.
Oh, that's right.
Because that was enormous. That was such a big thing. And when that song came out, the lights came on again all over the world.
Yes, that's it. It was strip lighting, so it wasn't the street lights. I think that's what we had when we did it last time.
Yes, you're
but
right.
This time it's the strip lighting. Yes. So any neon signs, if you got them above a shop or obviously in Piccadilly Circus, then they were allowed to
and of course they used them inside shops then because they were much better than the old-fashioned bulbs. And,
that's right, neon lighting. So that was switched back on. So things are happening. You're still living in the 2 rooms with no sink, but because of the NHS
and the new laws that came in then of looking after children and maternity mums and childbirth, then the council had to install proper running water for new children or pregnant women, people.
Because you only had a sink on the landing that Dad had made, hadn't you?
Yes, that's right.
He'd made the sink and
water was down on the landing in a tiny sink which you couldn't even get a bowl in. It was a tiny thing.
And you got the water and carried it up?
Yes, we carried it up. Yes.
So here you are, when you came home from hospital, Mum.
Yes.
You had a butler sink.
Butler sink, yes.
And we have said it in previous episodes, but no cupboards.
No.
Just still with your shelves.
Yes.
But
just to have the butler sink. So when I washed you, I used to sit you in that.
In the sink.
That was your bath, really.
Yes.
Then until eventually we did manage to get a bath that folded up.
Right.
That we could put near your cot.
Right.
And that was, you could carry that wherever you wanted it. It was just, cause plastic, but
rubber.
Not
I think.
plastic. Yes, it was
rubber.
Rubbery.
Yes. And also, then you had to put you had to put your up bed, didn't you?
Yes.
So you had to put that down every night.
Yes.
And I slept in the pram, didn't I?
Yes.
No cot for quite a while.
No, that was the pram was the inside
the
of it.
Carry cot bit.
Yes, we had a carry cot, and that was your cot until we were able to get a cot.
Yes.
But when we eventually did get a cot, my goodness, that room was
full
as crowded
yes.
as you could think of.
A little sitting room, bedroom, tiny kitchen, you said.
But then a bigger flat was quite expensive.
Right.
And, So we stayed where we were
Yes. Yes.
for a while. And that's another story, the next story, where we moved to after
Yes.
that.
Well, we have done it in previous episodes, but not linked it with what's going on.
No.
And really, there is war going on all around the world.
Oh.
And it's said that Britain's getting this plutonium, so, you know, that's all building up. And so it was a time of peace, but not world peace. Not at all.
No, there was all sorts of things going on.
Yeah.
In other parts of the world.
But you must have been happy to get Dad back home and have a little holiday.
Yes.
And I've got a picture of you, Mum, pregnant, down in Cornwall.
Yes.
And so you must have gone down to Cornwall to see Aunt Em when you're quite pregnant, actually.
Because Aunt Em had a lovely little place in Cornwall.
Yeah, so that must have been nice.
And that was lovely to be able to go there.
You didn't have a car, though, so you must have gone on the train.
Yes, and no, it was lovely. And Cornwall's
so beautiful, so rural there.
Yes.
Righty-ho then, so we'll call it a day. So we're starting the new decade next week.
Yes.
And we'll see what that brings.
Yes. Rationing was changing, and, you know, there was lots of things to look forward to.
Yes. And
I believe when you look forward... Yes, laundrettes came out.
Oh, Mum, that was in this one we said. Well done, yes. Oh, here we go. And the NHS. It says the NHS admits that they thought it would be 2 and 6 ahead per week, but it's actually 1 and 4pence more than first thought. And then the laundrette was the first one of its kind in Bayswater.
Yes.
And they were going to see how it went because you were still taking your washing to the local little shop, and then they brought it back damp.
But that's when they tried it out.
They tried it out, Mum.
Yes. It was a long time. Yes. Quite a couple of years before we
had a
long
time, Mum, before you had a laundrette.
Yes, but it was just lovely to know that
that's
was
when
going
it
on
was
then.
just starting.
Yes.
Well, on that clean note, we'll say cheerio.
Yes. And the next one will be after you were born.
After I was born, yes. Yes, and we'll be then leading up to the Queen's...
1952.
Yes, when her father died and she became Queen.
When she had the news.
Yes, because it's been very sad this week, hasn't it?
Yes.
We've been all at 6s and 7s.
Yes. But then lots of memories came back because of
what happened.
Yes,
where you were and all of that. All right then, so we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye. So I hope you enjoyed that. And and that's it really. I described the film. It's just Tommy at his little play area, and bearing in mind, he's 9 months at the end of this month. And I think today is something like the 18th. So thank you very much for all your comments. They keep me going. I do so appreciate them. And thank you very much for viewing. I know some of you, you're not ones to comment, but that doesn't matter. You're my viewers, and I really appreciate you spending your time with me. I'll see you next time. Take care. Look after yourselves. Happy crafting. And thank you for sharing. Bye-bye.
Done. Oh my goodness. Oh, don't look down.